So the whole chassis out of a '89 Range Rover. It's shortened 14 inches in the middle.
Okay.
Making this wheelbase actually 5 inches longer. And then 2.2 Isuzu diesel, and it's got the Isuzu 5-speed manual that came with this. And then I made an adapter to adapt this engine's transmission to the Samurai transfer case. And then the axles are out of a 98 Land Rover Discovery. My wife blew up the engine on the Discovery, and I towed her back here with the Samurai in stock form, and then we were heading back into town, and the carburetor just started puking everywhere. And I said, screw this, and we took our savings and got another vehicle. So then I had this engine transmission, and then I had the Samurai broke down, and I had the Land Rover stuff broke down, and one winter I was like, screw it, I'm just going to start measuring and measuring and cutting and threw it all together. But anyway, yeah, 2-tank system. Here's the vegetable oil filter, and it's got a flattened copper tubing that wraps around that keeps the oil good and hot right before it goes into the injection pump.
Okay.
And one of these valves, these are both valves here, one of them switches from the veg oil tank to the diesel tank back and forth, and another one purges. So you warm it up on diesel. Once it gets about 160 degrees, you flip the switch, and it switches this valve, starts running it on veg. And then about 30 seconds before you want to shut it off, you flip the switch into the upper position, and that activates this switch, and it uses the excess diesel to purge the injection system of the veg. That way when you shut it off, it doesn't solidify.
Gel up.
Yeah, and then a bunch of extra heater hoses, because one of these actually has a hose inside a hose.
Okay.
Coming from the bottom, the hose inside the heater hose is the fuel line. So that way the coolant is keeping that fuel hot all the way from back there up to here.
Oh, wow.
So it's a basic grease car system. Grease car is, I think, one of the best and most durable systems, and it was like $1,500.
Were they out of the valley in Spokane for a while?
They were for a while. I think they're mainly on the coast now.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely worth it. My boss works at Safeway on Mission in Hamilton. I get 25 gallons a week from them.
Oh, nice.
And I've got like 600 gallons stored up. And it pays for itself real quick, and it's a carbon neutral fuel. It's basically a closed loop system, because every bit of carbon dioxide that this engine emits from burning the vegetable oil is exactly equal to the carbon dioxide that the plant, whether it was corn or ethanol or whatever, extracted from the atmosphere just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So it's totally different than, extracting countless tons of carbon,
petroleum,
out of the earth that has been kept out of this carbon loop for millions or billions of years.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to go. I don't advocate it for. I don't advocate using cropland so much to make new fuel, but this being a waste fuel, I definitely
waste product.
it.
Yeah, it's definitely there's still a pretty viable waste stream of it too.
Yeah, as long as Americans are continually willing to clog their arteries up, I'll keep driving for free.
And then do you have a tank in the back for it? For the waste?
So the diesel, there's so much limited or little space, so I just used this for my diesel tank, and then the veg tank is right under there.
Oh, so that's the original stock tank there?
No, this is it's one of those stainless steel catering food dishes, like 7 gallons that they use to keep the food hot. I just found it at Earthworks and threw it on there.
That's cool.
Drilled into it and put the heat exchanger in there. So the heat exchanger in the tank is just let's see, I think it's 1/2-inch copper tubing that they just looped into like this shape like this, and yeah, so it heats it up really quick.
Nice.
The system was actually for a Suburban, and then the Suburban was pretty high mileage when I got it, and I think it lost a cylinder or something if I remember right, and I pulled the kit off of it, and then I had a Isuzu Trooper that I put a Nissan diesel in that I had laying around, and I put the kit on it for a while, and then I sold it and pulled the kit off, and then I put it on this.
Is there special switches in too?
Yeah. This switch right here. In the middle with no light is default. It defaults to diesel. And so neither of those valves in there are getting power. Down is vegetable oil.
Okay.
And then when you purge it for 30 seconds, you put it in the upper position.
Nice.
And Grease Car actually has a really cool little module called the Co-Pilot. And it's adjustable for whatever temperature you want. So you start the rig up on diesel or biodiesel, and the Co-Pilot will switch it over automatically.
Okay.
And I forget how they set it to purge, but if you don't purge it before you shut it off, it'll go bing, bing, bing.
Okay.
And
fail safe.
Yeah, because with all this crap that's been going on with my wife, I've like not been sleeping well and thinking straight. And one night I got home and I forgot to purge it, and get up and I saw that light on. It was still set on vegetable oil. It won't produce the kind of injection pump this has will not produce the required pressure. It's a centrifugal pump.
Okay.
There's centrifugal or rotary pumps, and then there's piston or inline pumps, like on a 94 to 98 Dodge or old Mercedes diesel. Those are the best because a piston in a cylinder will always create way more pressure, three times the pressure that this will. But anyway, so I had to get my wife's hair dryer and set it on the injector pump and the injectors for like half an hour before it would start.
Okay.
But if it was December, that wouldn't have happened.
So you can't even compression start it at that point, or?
No, it's just because the fuel
It's just
is
too thick.
just too viscous.
Yeah.
So too long of a carbon chain. So you got to heat it up and reduce the viscosity before it'll flow through the injectors on this.
Cool. How's it compare when using it like as a fuel? Does it still have as much power?
In the Suburban, I noticed an increase in power.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've heard it kind of cleans them out a little bit.
Well, it doesn't clean it out, but it's got more lubricity because it's a longer carbon chain, and it's got more potential fuel because there's more carbon in it.
Okay.
This is 60 horsepower, and it's just a dog anyway, especially with the roof rack and everything. So I didn't notice any increase in power with this, but for some reason when I put it on the Suburban, I was like, wow, this has got a little bit more punch to it. I've heard and read that you get a little bit more fuel economy, which makes sense because there's more BTUs in there and the lubricity is better. But yeah,
that's pretty cool.
and there's if you're not making biodiesel, the glycerin is still in there, and glycerin has a lot of energy potential in it. So, yeah, it's worked out good. I'm looking for a Mercedes diesel right now because there's a bunch of maintenance I need to do to this, and it's great around town, it's great around here, but it's a chore to keep it up to speed on the freeway.
Okay.
Especially when I put stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of wind load. Yeah, and it's kind of like a brick aerodynamically right now.
Even in stock form, they're terrible on the freeway. If I had a turbo on it, it would help. I'd love to just get 10 or 20 more horsepower out of it. But these Isuzu diesels were really engineered for longevity and having just a certain amount of fuel put through them. And I don't know if the upper end of it will hold up to much boost or not. But I'll probably try it. Either that or I might try porting and polishing the head. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.